Hi, new video blog. I wanted to update you on the construction of the new Blue Splash, the Mustang. Here she is. And we made a little bit of progress since last time. We talked quite a bit about the swing rig. You can see here the carbon tube has been drilled out and epoxied into the hull. The bearings have been put in there. So this thin tube, other carbon tube, slides into the two bearings and it rotates nicely. Actually, a little bit of a difficulty with it. The first time I tried to put it in, it was canted back at a pretty severe angle, about 5–10%. Make sure when you put your rudder, your swing rig tube in, it's straight or maybe even canted forward a little bit. The swing rig is going to give you quite a bit of weather helm, really, under any circumstance. And with a large amount of rake, the boat would have just helplessly headed up into the wind and stalled out. So I was able to adjust that. You might see if you look very carefully, you can see here there's a little piece of vinyl similar to what we used on the edges. That's just to reinforce this area a little bit. Something I learned from building the PEC. That seam where the tube comes out, you want to make sure that's nice and watertight. What will happen when the mast goes on, this aluminum tube, if you remember from last time, will be glued in the mast and stick out the bottom. It fits on here. You can see it rotates pretty evenly. So by way of explanation, I guess, we're going to borrow the B-rig from the PEC. And you can see this is the PEC's B-rig. Let's get a look at it here. The B-rig on my boats is roughly the size of an A-rig on a Dragon Force. It's about 15% less sail area. It's quite a bit lower aspect than my A-rig. But if we put this on, you can see how this fits. If you look at the bottom of this rig here, you'll see that small piece of aluminum tube protruding from the bottom. And it's going to fit right here on this pintle. And slide right down, and voila, you have a swing rig. The construction of the rig itself, I'm going to get to in another blog, but you can see from last time, here's your cross tree. This is the jib, so it's actually pointing backward, but we spin it around, and here we go. This is kind of what it'll look like. You can see the sheet post here. The rigging is going to run forward. There's going to be a cleat here. It's going to go through a davit of sorts. An eye, I think that's the term, there's an eye there. It's going to run to the eye, up to the post, and then down the boom. So this is the PEC has a slightly different arrangement, so that'll reflect something I've learned. And I want this post to just be below. Post is stainless steel with an eye on it, nothing real fancy. So you can see how easily this spins. You can just blow on it, and it'll spin right around. So that light, frictionless arrangement is really what this whole swing rig is designed to do. And I'll get into, when I glue this together and rig it up, I'll have a blog going through how it's done and all the adjustments I put on it. I make no representation that it's a singular font of wisdom. I use a design similar to the one that Eric Rosenbaum designed, and the parts are the ones that he makes for this particular boat. There's a lot of way to skin that cat, however, and this is just one of them. It does work pretty well, though. One thing you might notice is the position of the swing rig is a little forward of what it would be if it was a fractional rig. The actual mast location would be back about here. And it would be possible to build it so that I could switch the rigs out either way. You'd have to use some synchronous sheeting for the running rigging to work correctly. I don't really care. I'm kind of a proponent of the swing rig on these boats. I sail on a lot of light air where they're particularly useful. It can be done, and maybe, you know, in the future I'll make one like that just to cover all my bases. But I just go with the swing rig, so that's my mast location. The rudder, you can't see it, but it's complete, and the rudder horn has been installed. Really, the only thing I'm waiting on is I'll pick up the rest of the rig parts from Eric this week. The servos should come pretty soon, and they have all the radio boards already made to insert into the hull. So it'll be assemble the actual spars, put on the sails, run the rigging, insert the rudder and sail control board and servos, and we'll be ready to test her out. So very close. I hope these have been helpful. Like I said, it's swing rigs I think are really not that easy to make, or not that difficult to make. They're I think very advantageous under certain conditions, and they're a little different, they're a little fun. One thing I'm kind of interested in is what they call a broke back rig, where there's actually a hinge up on the front spar where the jib fits. Maybe that might be a project for one time. One thing you might consider in terms of if you're doing a little research, I'm very interested in old Marbleheads and back in the Vane era. And a lot of the principles that apply to the swing rig actually I find have a lot of applicability going back at looking at how vanes were designed and how they use the apparent wind to control the rudders. So just kind of an interesting topic. If you get into that, take a look sometime. Other than that, I think we're going to wrap it up. We're getting real close to getting the Mustang out on the water, and look for our next blog where we'll go into the construction of the actual rig, and hopefully after that you'll be seeing us on the water. So, as usual, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and until then, I hope your boat is sailing well, and we'll see you next time. Bye.